From squeaky brakes, melting dashboards, blown out sunroofs, leaking oil and antifreeze, as well as blown engines. All things that actually do happen with Lexus vehicles. You just don't hear about it. Clearly, Lexus does not want you to know any of these issues, but I'm here to expose that and let you know that as good as Toyota and Lexus cars really are, they're not perfect. Let's get into it now. Life's too short to drive boring cars. So with the help of Get Jerry, we can reference an independent body that actually has researched and summarized a lot of the annual costs for a lot of these vehicles on the Lexus world, some of the major failures and the keys to watch out for. Make sure that those areas have been dealt with if you're looking at buying a used Lexus vehicle. So the first one here, we're looking at a beautiful 2015 Lexus RX350. They always have the gorgeous wheels. Of course, Lexus and their pretty trademark front end. This is before they went crazy with the oversized front grille assembly. Beautiful little front lights. Of course, you've got some great styling detail along the side on these vehicles. Oversized roof rack to help you carry a lot of your goods. Of course, they have this great little overhang at the back. Very sleek and sporty in this Lexus RX350. Lots of little chrome accents and detailing, and there's even a trailer hitch to boot. Of course, some great accents and details. Love all that chrome detail on the bottom of the door. And then the interior looks extremely well put together, long-lasting, durable, and extremely robust. So of course, as it's the 350, we're talking about the V6. That's a 3.5 liter, just shy of 300 horsepower. Very rugged, reliable, and robust. And it's clearly one of their mainstays in the Lexus and Toyota world. Remember, Lexus has always been a believer of continually using the same product if it's reliable and durable. Why fix what's not broken? However, there are a host of issues with this specific vehicle. First of all, I'll start out by saying the average annual maintenance cost for this vehicle isn't that $550+ annual. Of course, it will go higher if you sustain something more significant, but your average maintenance cost will be in that range. So issues that you can find from 2007 up to this 2015 model year, and it's quite significant, has to do with the VVTI, that's the variable valve timing. That's the system that alters the timing from low revs to high revs, so it gives you maximum throttle response at low and gives you maximum breathing for best power at the top end. Now, of course, that's all driven by hydraulics and pressure by the oil. If that oil is non-existent, yes, you can have a problem. Your system won't function. What the results are typically sloppy throttle response off the get-go or the lack of top-end power. But even more importantly, the problem that these see are the high-pressure oil lines that feed the VVTI system that are drastically known to actually rupture. If they rupture, you potentially could lose enough oil, so it'll trigger your engine oil or low oil light, and that's at a point when you know that you've probably gone too far. With these engines, you never want to let this vehicle run low on oil, because if it does, there's a good chance that it's leaking from the VVTI lines. There happened to be an upgrade to that, so that's a positive. But it's not a cheap and inexpensive fix. It's quite awkward to get at. There's other issues in the engine compartment as well, like the camshaft timing oil control valves, which are not uncommon. And when they fail, that's, again, significant dollars out of your pocket. And most of these cars now are out of warranty, clearly, as we're talking about a 2015. That means you'll be fronting the bill. Air conditioning system has also been problematic with a lot of these vehicles. They stop working or they just lack the charge to actually give you the proper amount of output. And other check engine lights can erupt for this particular vehicle, somewhat because of that camshaft control valve, as well as other host of different various reasons. Now, the intent isn't to scare you away, because generally speaking, the numbers of complaints related to all these individual issues are relatively low. If you were to compare that with a Land Rover in terms of ratio and percentage of failures, this is very, very low. So overall, still a very reliable vehicle, but nobody likes to admit that their vehicles have faults. And the next one on the list is what we're looking at here. We're talking about a 2007 to 2016 Lexus ES 350. Now, these things are very, very reliable, so let's not kid each other, but there are some problems with these vehicles. Number one, of course, is the VVTI system again. Leaking lines, or those lines that can rupture. You definitely want to keep an eye out for the low pressure oil light when it comes on the dash. This one here, the earlier models, when we're talking about the earlier generations, the 07s and such, melting dashboards is a real problem area for a lot of these vehicles. Of course, the screens on the dash are actually sometimes fade out, especially on the earlier ones as well. That's not an uncommon phenomenon. Clicking noises from the rear suspension, and the brakes are generally quite weak. The older versions, up to around a 2007, that's the real culprit, not this one. This one here is actually reasonably good. Of course, you got some great accents on the front, and this is still the newer generation with the oversized front end where they started to transition that design. And generally, these cars are relatively affordable to maintain at about $470 per year for servicing. That is very, very affordable. And that's, of course, if there are no major failures. With that said, go back to 2007, you're dealing with melting dashboards, evaporator cores, as well as the infamous blown head gaskets on some of these particular vehicles. Stick with the newer versions and you're definitely good to go. The next one on the list is what we have right here, 2006, 2007 Lexus IS. The 350s, the 250s, which is specifically what we're looking at here, have even another host of issues. But we're looking at about a $550 annual service cost. Of course, Lexus, the older generation with the smaller grills, they got their small wheels and a pretty cool little mirror on there. Of course, small little cutesy handles, and even comes with a sunroof. Great little cars by Lexus, and it's the IS 250 all-wheel drive version, so that means you're good in winter weather. Some of the issues you're going to expect with this vehicle are clicking noises in the rear suspension. You get melting dashboards, melting seat panels. Of course, this sunroof has been known to blow out as well. But because this is the 250, this is the direct injected, this carbon's off. This car gets massive amounts of carbon in the intake as well because it doesn't get enough rinsing on the back of the intake valves. That's a big issue. And these engines are particularly weak. The rearview mirror gets a little discolored as well over time. And the big issue with these vehicles is the automatic transmission tied to this. You get a few different codes from P0751 to P2714 and P0894. Means that often related to the transmissions, generally may mean you might need an automatic transmission powertrain control module to fix it. So as good as these cars are, in fact, this proves that Lexus is not quite perfect. And then we have an LX570, which is going to cost you about $1,000 a year to maintain. These are relatively reliable, but there are a few issues with them. Number one, clearly, why is it sitting on the corner here? Obviously, as opposed to that one. But some of the issues are heated seat related or remote starting related issues there. Connecting to Bluetooth has been a problem, as well as some really strange fan belt noises. Other than that, these cars are relatively robust. The odd check engine light, and you're good to go. And then the worst offender of the bunch is the 2009 Lexus RX350. For some reason, these cars literally hemorrhaged oil, and a lot of it had to do with the same VVTi lines. But in this particular year, even the replacement parts seemed to erupt and cause problems time and time again. So this was literally the worst version of the RX series that you can get your hands on, and literally the one you wanted to avoid. So Lexus vehicles literally are some of the most reliable vehicles on the planet. With that said, they're not perfect and there are issues. And that's why Lexus would rather sweep some of those problems under the mat and just keep on moving. But we can't ignore that. We are consumers and we are buyers, and it's our hard-earned money. Now with all of that said, right there, check it out. A host of luxury vehicles that are guaranteed to run over 300,000 miles. Hope to see each and every one of you on the next one. Catch you real soon. Bye-bye.